you gotta want to make your song able for other DJs to play out. I think that's super important, you know? Like, something that I learned that was, like, very helpful was, when I was making a track with AC Slater, we had, like, a full-on vocal from Sophie Grofie, like, just, like, it was a total vocal track, and, you know, he's kind of like, you know, I don't really play out, like, a whole lot of vocal tracks, and the more I thought about it, I don't really either, because it's really hard to match, like, getting, you know, when you have vocals going throughout the whole track, it's very hard to, you know, find a song that goes well with that, I guess. I've been working a lot more with kind of just, like, working without vocals and just, like, relying strictly on, like, melody and, like, sound design and stuff like that. But we're going to go ahead and get into this track. So, the first thing that I always do is, like I said, I normally start from the drop, so I'll do, like, you know, 32 bars in a loop, and I'll go through, and the first thing that I want to make sure that I'm doing is making sure that my drums knock. So, one thing that I always do with my drums is I put a drum bus on here, as you can see, and, you know, it's really just, like, by sound, so, like, you know, I use, like, this is, like, from, like, a splice pack or something like this, but I'm gonna show the difference without. As you can hear, it's, like, a lot, like, flatter. So this drum bus is really cool, and, like, you can do a lot with it, you know? You can make your kicks, like, I've even, like, used it for techno tracks. I've taken kicks, and I've, like, put, like, if you increase, like, the boom on it, say, for instance, so I'm at 21%, you know, it's kind of got that, like, techno, like, long kick kind of sound to it. It's really cool. There's a lot that you can do with it. You can make it a little bit more, like, crunchy. It's kind of like putting a drive on it, but, yeah, and there is a drive, actually, on here, too. There's a soft, medium, hard, so it's almost like a distortion. But yeah, so I normally start out, you know, just with, like, my typical 4-on-4 kick. For this part, I obviously took out some areas because, you know, I like to, I don't know, for this one, I left, like, one of my favorite things to do lately is, like, to, like, have a kick, and then, like, when that drop hits, like, just have, like, something completely bare just to kind of strike you and be like, oh, this is the drop. Because, like, defining different sections of your tracks is very important. As you can see in this project, I have completely, like, you know, labeled everything. And I think that's super important. I used to not do it at all, but, like, yeah, when you go up here, you can just, like, right-click, hit add locator, and be like, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to delete that. But, yeah, it's nice, because then you could go through and figure out, like, which section it is. I'm very, like, picky about, like, you know, my arrangement, because, you know, there is a very simple arrangement for each track, and I've learned that by, I mean, if you're just beginning, one of the greatest things to do is to, like, throw a track into your Ableton that you really like, and go through and try and copy that arrangement, and copy the drum patterns and stuff. Like, I'll start off, like, very bare, like, as you can hear, like, well, actually, that's not as bare as I normally start my tracks off with, but, you know, I, like, kind of keep the percussion a little bit out of it. And then, you know, there goes the percussion, like, kind of give, like, the full taste of, like, the drums in the verse, is what I do. And, I want to make sure that there's, like, a defining period throughout each section that it goes into, so I'll go, like, a little bit closer towards the build, and it kind of, like, I kind of wash everything out into the build, to kind of, like, you know, disperse, like, you know, the tension, and then, like, rebuild the tension as the build goes on. So we're gonna listen to the build. And then here I put an auto filter, so as you can listen, I took out the kick. And then just, like, kind of, like, spread everything out. And then these vocals, something that's really funny, I was listening, I was on, like, a huge Suicide Boys kick. And so, I took there's, like, an outro of it, and it was really funny. And so I thought I'd redo it, so, like, You can hear that's like the end of a Suicide Boys track. But then I went and I redid it, and all I did actually was, you don't need a huge fancy mic or anything when you're doing like house vocals like this, but as you can see, I have a lot of processing on it. So this was my voice, and I just pretty much copied that part, and then I did a lot of processing on it just to kind of make it interesting. On Sunday morning, and you tell God you're sorry for your drunkenness, only to go back out tonight and get wasted again. Yeah, so that was my vocal. A plugin that I love to use for like really weird vocals, if you're just like doing like fun silly vocals, is Manipulator. It's by Infected Mushroom. Well, it's by Polyverse, but it's Infected Mushroom plugin, and there's all sorts of different presets on it, and it's really fun. And it's another way that I use to, like, if I make a bass patch on Serum and it's kind of plain, I'll go through and I will loop that and record it and or resample it, and then I'll just mess with all of these parameters, and it does like the wildest stuff. And you can go through and you can take that whole, like, you know, you could do it for like a minute straight and go through and pick something that you found interesting and use it as like even just like a little tiny perk or effect or something like that, you know, just to switch up. Or like you could use it for layering, all sorts of things. I'm a huge resampler. I think that's super important. It really helps with like adding layers to your tracks just to add like a little bit more spice. I always tell my students that like the smallest things go so far when you add them. So on here, another thing that I really like about Ableton 10, I like refused to switch for a super long time, but it's called Echo. So we'll listen to this one more time. So with this Echo, it will originally say sync, but you can you just click it so it says time, and then once you click on this and then you know, hit A, there's the parameters, you go up and down, it does all this crazy weird like funky stuff, lots of like pitch bending kind of sounds, you know, like some weird stuff like that. So that's super fun. I think I have a little, yeah. And something for vocals that I always do is I put a compressor at the end of it, because what a compressor is essentially doing is it's putting your vocals on top of like the mix. So, you know, that's the part that I want people to hear during this time. So I'm like kind of having them sit on top of the mix of the entire track. But yeah, I'm gonna go through my build a little bit. And these are my percussion right here. So this is the percussion that I like introduced into here, you know? Like, I'll label this. Okay, so I put an auto filter on the group. So this is all my percussion up here. I normally use MIDI for my drums, and then I'll add top loops. Because the fun thing about that is you can take them away, and then to build more suspense throughout your track, you just kind of add them in, which is fun. But yeah, here during the build, what I normally do is I'll leave the percussion going when it's going out through the verse, and also always I have like some sort of riser kind of coming up. Is it? Oh, that's my sub bass. Oh yeah, here's my noises. Okay, so yeah, I'll like fade in, fade out, and then fade back in to the drop, you know? Like I said, just like releasing tension and then building it back up. But I'll solo this for you. So I just took the frequency and I just, you know, pulled it down. Gave space for other things to kind of make its way, just like I said, like my vocals, like. And then I normally leave like a tagline of like 4 bars right here for like, you know, if I have vocals or something, or like a drum fill or something like that. Here I just like, I think I did like an impact, and then I did a kick, and then I left the kicks out here. And so then, yeah, we go into the drop here. And here we go, is into the part with the sound design here. So this is my serum patches. So as you can see, down here is the LFO rate. And to switch things up, like a lot, I would, you can add, automation lines so that you can go through and you can literally just copy and paste these on here to make them more consistent. But yeah, basically I'll show you what my serum is doing during this patch. All I have is just my serum, and then I have this, it's actually something that my friend gave me. It's called the OTT Niles Down. It's like an OTT preset, and it's basically just like stereo spreads everything and makes it louder. It's like, that sounds like a total carnage thing to say. Makes it louder, but it does. I don't really know why, but it's awesome. Oh yeah, and you can see I've got my dope night base skin here. Also, I'm gonna check for a little question or anything. Should the drum bus be used just on the group track or also kick individually? I normally just put it on my kick. You can put drum bus totally onto your percussion as well. Lots of people do that. But what I normally do for my percussion is I create a send. So when you go down here and you see like, A, B, C, so that's going to be right here, this infinity thing where it says right there. So that's like your reverb, that's your delay, and then, C is my compression. So this is called parallel compression. I'll put a compressor onto this send, and I put it on, I believe, yeah, so I went through and I put it on my percussion to kind of make it stand out a little bit more. So like, I'll show you an example of what that kind of sounds like. This is my whole percussion group, and I'll show you what it sounds like when I feed the send of the percussion into it. As opposed to, it just kind of makes it sit on top a little bit more. So that's typically what I normally just use the drum bus for my kick, because like it's just a really good way to like create your own kick almost. And you could start with like any kick and make it sound how you like it with the proper processing, which is a cool thing. But oh yeah, to get back into the serum track, and unfortunately I saw somebody ask me if I could do the repetition track, but I had a very unfortunate event where my computer wiped and all that was available was my desktop, and for repetition that was made before I had made a lot of these tracks, and I was sitting on that track for a while, and so I saw the project file, but all of my plugins got wiped out for it, and a lot of samples and stuff, so I wasn't able to fully recover the project. But yeah, I'm just gonna go through this one because this is a very good example of like, just like kind of my weird funky sound. But yeah, I'm gonna go through and show you kind of what this serum patch is doing. So let's listen to it. As you can see right here, I have the LFO changing a lot. And that's really cool because like you can just click this. Like if you just click on the parameter down here, then you're able to mess with it. And if it does that white line thing, that's just because it thinks that you're changing it again, but you don't want to do that. And so this little orange arrow up here will prevent that from happening. But yes, let's see here, and then right here. Yeah, and I have these like little underlying things. Like I love to keep things like super in the background while other things are like playing. It kind of fills in the spaces a little bit. I'm gonna go through really quick how I made this patch. Most of the time, I am essentially just not really sure what I'm doing when I'm messing around with some of these patches. My favorite thing to do is to get like really complex serum patches and dissect them. As you can see, like this LFO is connected to like millions of different things. So I have it connected to wave position, wavetable position, the mirror, the FM from A. This is just basic shapes. And like, if you just want like a simple wub, like you literally just do a sine wave. I can show you guys this in a little bit. Sine wave, a sine wave, and then down 1 octave, and then, you know, up 1 octave. It depends on how it sounds. And then like when you click here, you just go to like FM from B, or you could do FM from A. But we're going to get into sound design a little bit later. I'm going to go through how I, you know, kind of like make space and differentiate like the arrangement and stuff like that. I don't know why this is labeled KK, but okay. So in the beginning, I normally just kind of like leave my percussion very bare so that you can just kind of get a feel for what this sounds like what the main motive is. And then I go like more into percussion as it goes on. And I like to do, so most of the times I'll just do like, in my arrangement, I'll do like A and then B. But for this one, I had so many different like things that worked well together that I felt like I could fit in a lot of different things into it. So as you can see, I'll start from section B. So it's got that garage kind of sound. And then I decided to do a switch up here, which would essentially be C right here, and then this would be D. But did this little plucky thing. Alright. And another thing that I noticed is like when you're listening to tracks, like when you hear like a little switch up, I like to just like go through. This is a very large project, so it's kind of like a little bit stressful to look at, but I'll go through, and like the easy thing that you can do is like you could just like, if you go down to an open rack and just click Command A, you can close everything. So like, you know, if I was zoomed in here and I just wanted like just a little bit of space, you could just go through like that and through all your percussion and just hit Command E and zero it out. And so that's how I create my space. I like doing that like when I'm going into transitions of like the next the next section, you know, like nothing here, no percussion, just the vocals. And yes, I will show you songs that I'm working on, but I'm deconstructing how I created this song in the first place because I'm not finished with the other songs that I'm working on, and this one is finished, so I thought it would be easier to go through and show you guys how I do this. Okay, so, you know, I normally start off with the drop, and then I'll take the build from there. So I'll kind of like get an idea for, I don't know, when I like create my drop, I kind of just get like this like vibe and a certain feel of like what I want the track to kind of like conceptually like sound like and like be cohesive. And yeah, I'll take like the percussion and do that thing where I did like the auto filter and stuff like that. So, but like when I'm doing like the verse and all that, I go through and I take all my percussion, that like the place where I have like the most dense percussion, and I will just like put that in. I normally make it about, what is this, like 16 bars. So I'll make this like 4 bars. Oh, that's, yeah, that's 8 bars. No, it's 16 bars. Yeah, I normally go by like 8, 16, 32, 32, another 32, another 32 bars, and then, you know, like I'll do like 64 in this area for like the D and B break. This one is a little bit different arrangement than what I normally do because, I mean, I worked on this song for a very long time, so it's very different, but I'm going to show you kind of how I do like the outros and how I achieve this drum and bass break here. Oh, another thing before I go into that, actually, I wanted to show you guys that, like, when I'm using my serum patches and stuff, so, like, this right here is that, like, oh, and also, fun fact, I'm gonna get very sidetracked because I did a lot in this project, but fun fact, with an auto pan, what you can do, I will show you how I do it from scratch, but you can make an LFO with an auto pan, which is super fun. Add an auto pan here. And what you do is you go down here and you turn it to the musical looking button, the music note, and that turns it into sync. And then you go amount fully, and then you phase it 360. So that just turns it into an auto pan. So it's not panning left and right anymore. If you're at like 180 or whatever, what it's doing is it's creating an LFO essentially, and you can change the rate so it's like just like, you know, 1/8. Do you hear that? But here I like, and then you can change the amount too. So like, you know, if I don't have that amount on, but that one's really fun. I like creating my own LFOs here. But yeah, what I was gonna show you guys is I'll keep all my basses in a group that I use during a drop. And I'll either go through and, most of the time, just to be safe on the entire group, I'll take out, like, the low frequencies on here. Because what I do is, like, this is what I, like, swear by. I find this to be the best sub ever. It's hip-hop sub bass, and if you have Ableton, you have it. And what I do is this is, like, the first thing that I do after I'm done, like, building the motif, kind of, is I will sidechain and compress my kick. So, you know, you click sidechain, then you go from what, and then normally I label everything a lot better, but I sidechained it for my kick. And you pull the threshold down and the output out so that you can kind of hear that kick pumping. So basically your kick and your bass are low frequency, and if you don't do that, then the frequencies are gonna mesh and it's gonna sound very muddy. So that's like a number one thing. And then you just take out like any low frequencies and like kind of let your kick and your bass be the main portion of what you're using for your low frequencies. But yeah, I'm gonna show you how I get into this kind of sound. Just kind of slowed things down a little bit. Live by a riser, always. And the great thing about using these is you could just literally duplicate it and then hit this little reverse button. So it's just kind of like a shh, shh, and it just kind of calms things down a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna get out of this clip mode. Alright, and so if I go down to this master here, I can go down to mixer and see song tempo. And so I know that when I have the house portion going, I have that at 127. And then drum and bass, I normally just do for 174. You could do like 86 or 87 or whatever. But you can choose and type that in so that, like, you know, your low point is going to be like your main song tempo, which is 127. And then it's going to go up to 174, which is the typical BPM for drum and bass. So I have this slowly rising. And as you can hear, I kind of like made this part very bare and then just like washed out a lot of things. So let's see what I did here. Yeah, so and then this is another thing that I love. So when I'm going into this transition right here, if you search on Google, you can literally just like drag it into your Ableton. It's called Bass Class Easy Washout. It's basically just like, it does exactly what it says. Like you just move one knob and it just kind of washes everything out and creates everything, like makes it very airy. So it makes it very easy to make transitions, which is really nice. But as you can see, I have the tempo slowly rising. And during that time, I'm like kind of keeping everything kind of bare. And then I just used like a drum and bass top loop and just kind of slowly introduced it in with the auto filter. And then a little fill here. And right here, what I did, so this is a resample of me going through and taking this bass right here and clicking Command T. And I always have my stuff setting to resampling. So you can make that so it automatically does that. And just save the track so every time you hit Command T and start a new audio track. And then I just soloed this and hit record. So it just like records all of the basses that's being played. Yeah, something like that. So that's exactly what I did down there, which is what you're seeing right here. And so it's basically playing the exact same like melody and like bass pattern that I had throughout the house drop. But since it's sped up, I warped it so that it like, you know, hits that drum and bass kind of sound. Oopsies. And here's more of like where I did that on the drop right here. And somebody just asked me how I create my bass patterns. Throughout time, I've kind of just gotten used to like, I mean, to be honest, I normally just write an F and I just like, you know, kind of, I know that key. And so I'll just like kind of make everything. Oh man. I had this conversation with PD one time, PD Clicks, and he's like, yeah, I know nothing about music theory. And I was like, yeah, pretty much same. I mean, I just kind of mess around with the notes until it feels like it sounds right. And like I know the keys and stuff, so that makes things easier. But when it comes to bass patterns, I've kind of just like gotten used to it. And it does help to copy bass patterns, like not copy them and like actually use them in your track, but just like kind of like learn from them. That's what I've done a lot. Another thing that you can do, which I'll show you when I go into the next part or portion, is
make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer in every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
Is you can just like hit, like if I were to go like this, I feel like I shouldn't show you now, I should show you later, but if you hit convert melody into new MIDI track and you have like a splice loop of a really cool like bass line that you like, it's pretty good at doing it, but it will convert like, you know, the bass pattern into a new MIDI track, so you're able to see that, and then you can like pick portions from it and kind of like flip things around a little bit and make your own bass pattern that way. But I was going to show you that in the next track that I'm going to deconstruct, that I'm kind of stuck with personally right now. And just like how to overcome like those roadblocks, because like, I mean, there's tracks where I just like throw so much stuff at it, and because I mean, there's so many cool sounds that I've been making lately. I've been focusing a lot on sound design. It's been harder for me to write music recently, but I've had a lot of fun doing sound design. So I get like overexcited with all the sounds that I have, and so I need to like learn to simplify more, which is what I'm going to show you in the next track after I'm done deconstructing this one. I saw some good questions here. So anything to look out for? Be careful resampling a whole bass group like that. Not necessarily. I mean, I mix as I go. So, like, honestly, like, all the basses are already taken out. Like, all the lower frequencies are already taken out of these essential, like, synths. And, I mean, if there's ever anything in audio, like, it's so easy to cut things out. It's ridiculous. So, like, there's nothing to really worry about. I mean, like... You know, easy as that. And then just, like, take it over here. Where you have the drum and bass drop. I'll just post that and silence this for a second. This is how easy it is. I don't know, this may just like randomly sound really terrible. Obviously I did a little bit processing to make it sound a little bit, you know, louder. But there's resampling, like, it's a lot easier than you think when you do it, which is the cool part about it. It's just kind of like, honestly, I think the hardest part about like doing these drum and bass breaks is like doing the transitions in and out. So I'm gonna go through the second portion of the drum and bass drop and how it goes back into the house. Oops, okay, I silenced it, hold on. There we go. And to answer your question, Josh, I don't lose clarity at all when I do that because when I'm doing my synths, I make sure that everything is in order and that everything makes sense and, you know, is playing at the same time that they're supposed to be. And I go through and I mix everything properly beforehand. I think that if you were to do that in a group, then that would be a lot of really confusing audio samples to work with. That's why I find it so much easier just to put everything in a group, mix things accordingly how they need to be, and, you know, go through. And I didn't do much mixing besides like taking out the low ends and stuff, like, but for this one, you know, I put like a compressor on it, and I felt like it was still a little bit bass heavy after I put a EQ on the group. But no, I go through and I mix each synth that I have playing during my drop very accordingly, and so when I do the resampling, like, there's never any problems. I mean, it's just the same thing that you've been hearing in the drop, so I don't lose clarity. If anything, I have way more clarity rather than doing that individually. That sounds a lot more confusing to me, but yeah, okay. And then I'm gonna answer a couple more questions. How did I get on the First Bites Volume 2 album? Because I sent them a track and they liked it, I guess. I don't know. I wanted to get on Bite This for a little bit, so I sent it over to Jaws, and he really liked it, and I'll probably be releasing something with them again here soon. So my favorite production trick you find yourself doing in every track. That's a tough one. Honestly, the way that I find like such crazy weird stuff throughout my tracks is honestly, like, I love using this manipulator plugin. It's super crazy. And the sweet thing about it is you can stereo spread it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you with this pluck. So I'm going to play this pluck. Okay, so like without any processing, this is pretty much what it sounds like. There's so many different tools that I love. Like, I love this OTT Niles Down. That's awesome. It's a great for stereo spreading and just making things sound better. I love Bass Clef Easy Washout as well. This is what the pluck sounds like without all of the processing. Add the manipulator into it. So this one's fun because I love using frequency shifter too. Oopsie, come back. So I'll show you what I did on frequency shifter. So this is the coarse. So that's like the very, like, this is like turning the frequency like up super high. So it's like, and then I'll like mess around with the fine too. So like, you know, that's like all just pitch movement right there. And it's kind of fun because you could just do whatever you want with it. And like, I always like create ramps. So I'll like go like this. And like, if you hold shift down, you can go like that. And then just like take out one of the dots and it goes like, you know, and then it goes back up in pitch, you know. So that's another really fun trick that I love using. And also what this has on here is like, this is super fun when you're just like doing like, this is when I like to resample stuff too. Just like when you get super weird sounds, I like to just keep them on the back burner just in case if I want to throw something weird in. But it's got an LFO in it. You could even change it like this and put the sync on. Yeah, that's super fun too. I like doing that. But this is a really fun tool, honestly. And same with Echo. What I showed you guys earlier with the milliseconds. If you just like, sometimes I'll even do the drawing tool and like do really cool things with the drawing tool. But yeah, I'm gonna go back into, or see if there's... to be honest, nothing was really ever a game changer for me with like the production tools that I use. I mean, I feel like it's a collection of learning a lot of them. Stock Ableton audio effects actually have so much more to offer than you would think. Like, people are always like, oh, you need all these plugins and stuff, but like, you can really achieve a lot of the things that like you're paying like, you know, hundreds of dollars for with like just simple, you know, just taking the time to learn your Ableton audio effects, which I think is really cool and exciting because you don't have to spend a crap load of money. Okay, I'm gonna go back into the drum and bass drop and play it. There we go. So as you can see right here, my tempo is going back down to 127. And I have it kind of bare. Just threw in like a little serum effect thing. And this part's fun because I didn't copy this. So I like copied the first like vocal part from that Suicide Boys song. But then it just kind of like went like, I just kept rolling with it. And I wanted myself to sound like a nasally like Sunday school teacher. So I think I put it up just like, I didn't even do that. Okay, cool. But yeah, I did this off my phone. I think what I said earlier is like, you don't need like some big fancy mic. You can just, I just use voice memos and just airdrop it into my computer and just like really, you know, mess with it to put all these crazy things on it. So like, I mean, this is it without manipulator. Hold on.
Today's youth spends all night ingesting substances in a dark room, listening to techno music, expecting to return Sunday morning to repent for their sins, then get wasted again.
But yeah, that's how different like that my vocals sound when I turn this manipulator thing on. But yeah, I just got like, sometimes when I'm working on tracks, I just like really get like, I don't know, it's almost like a concept for me. And I just kind of wanted to make this track about like, you know, these kids just like getting wasted and like coming back Sunday morning to repent for their sins. I just thought that was funny. So I just kept rolling with it and just came up with this one on my own. But yeah, it sounds so different with the manipulator on it. To return Sunday morning to repent for their sin. But yeah, I go back into the house portion so that I'm able to mix this easier when I'm DJing. And I'm going to show you something a little simple that I do with my arrangement. So you see, I'm going to Alright, I'm gonna rename these so this makes a little bit more sense. So I go C and then D. Okay. So I'll take like, you know how this one has the kind of garage sound to it? And then this got that like the pluck sound. So essentially what I did was I went and, here I'll close this. I went and I took all of C and D right here. So that's all like the pluck portion of it. And you can easily just go through like that and just hold, you know, command copy and then go over to where you're going to have your next drop. And then I just like pasted it from the top. And then I went through my percussion and I kind of did the same thing. I made it a little bit more bare at the beginning. And then as it goes in, I have more percussion coming in. But, I just did a like simple switch up to where it starts out with the pluck instead. I mean, I'm kind of like diffusing like kind of the tension as I go through here. Because this will be typically when I'm playing this song out, it'll be like when I'm starting to bring in another track, you know? So it's kind of got like, I mean, obviously after there's like a drum and bass part of the song, like that's not really like, the second drop isn't gonna really live up to it a whole lot. It's funny how many plugins used to make your vocals sound like auto-tune. No, I just used one. I just used Manipulator. And I'm glad that I hid my voice because I really don't like the sound of my own voice in my tracks. So, God bless Manipulator, honestly, because that made me not have to listen to my vocals over and over again. So, no, I didn't really use that many plugins. I actually used one plugin for my vocals. Let's go back to it and look at it. Here it is. Yep, all it is this is just a stereo spreader. So, that makes it kind of sit on top. You know, it's a lot quieter when I take that off. And yeah, I mean, I just mess with the milliseconds on the echo every so often. If you watch right here, like that's the only part that I did really other than Manipulator and just some mixing techniques. And I'm not really quite sure why that's auto filters on here. Maybe I think I filtered it out at some point over here. But yeah. Nope, just one simple plugin that made my voice, I guess, sound like auto-tune, which is pretty funny. But yeah, so basically what I did here, when I created this drop, what I'll do is, this is a very simple way of arrangement, is I will take, I'll take the percussion and I'll like put just it like in the first four bars. And I want to make sure that, like, you know, when I'm going through, I just have like little bits and pieces of what's going to happen in the drop. So it's like a tease. And then, you know, just like a little clap that goes into it. It's just like little things that like make it sound, you know, like, oh, we're moving into different sections, you know, like that. And like I said, just like full percussion right here. But yeah, throughout the track too, I also have just like little vocal stabs, which you like, I kind of have like, they almost sound like they're in the background a little bit, but wasted. And also vocal placement is super important. I've like noticed that with like tracks that I've been working on. Like, you know, it sounds so different if like it was like a right, you know, I don't know, like here. You know? So like that's a very important thing, is like kind of figuring out where you want your vocal placement to go. And also just like leaving space for things like that, you know? I know this is kind of, you know, I'm going to delete all the tracks that I don't use, so maybe that will be more helpful. Collapse, collapse, collapse. But yeah, just kind of like leaving space, you know? And I have like little fillers like this too. Like, I don't even know what that is. Is that playing? Yeah, and it's like super in the background. But I'll like layer random things just to kind of have in the middle or in the background, just to kind of add some extra stuff. And that's where that like kind of like weird like sound is coming from. Let's see. I don't think this is a patch that I originally made. At least I don't think so. But let me see. Oh yeah, I think I just turned it down a bunch of octaves. You know what's really fun is if you go into effects and you take those like risers or like effects and stuff that they have, like just on like the natural, like, you know, over here, and just like going through and turning things down like to the lowest octave, you can get the weirdest sounds, you know, like this, but like originally it sounds like this. You know, it's kind of got like that like EDM sound, but like we turned down just like this like weird wet sound, you know? It's super fun. I love doing stuff like that. That's also how I get like my really weird, you know, sounds. What artist inspired you to start producing? So I used to be a dubstep DJ when I was like 16. I liked like Cookie Monster, Excision, Funkcase. Man, who else? Dr. P was sick. Flux Pavilion. So I used to DJ a lot of dubstep, but I also really liked house music. I liked house music from a very young age. I had an uncle that kind of got me into it. That and jungle, actually. I really, really have always been a huge jungle fan. Been thinking about making some jungle recently. I have like, you know, I show that I love drum and bass by like making some of these like drum and bass, you know, filler tunes, but I was thinking about making a drum and bass EP as well. But who inspired me the most is I remember I was sitting in my apartment. I was like 18 and I was sitting in my apartment in Seattle and I was YouTube searching for new tracks to play out while I was DJing, and I found Jack Got Jacked by Jack Beats, and Buddy actually is one of my good friends now, and we're going to start working on some music together here pretty soon. And I found his music, and I found Night Bass used to be Party Like Us Records, and I found AC Slater's music, and I was like, oh my god, this is it. This is all I want to make. Like, this is all I want to DJ, this is all I want to make. And I DJ'd it for a while, and you know, I got to the point where I was just like, I want to be the one making this music. And, you know, I watched a bunch of tutorials. I mean, like, it was a super long journey to get to where I am. I went through, a year of Icon, and, you know, I insisted that I had PD Clicks as my mentor because I knew that he's, you know, like, I saw him live a couple times while I was in LA. And I've always just been a huge Night Bass fan. That was like my first goal. I was like, I'm getting on Night Bass. And funny story actually is I walked up to AC one time. I went to the Housela release party when they had the Housela thing. And I came up to him and I think I had a couple drinks. And I was just like, I'm going to be on your label one day. And he was like, all right. And I just like walked away. And I was like, wow, it was really fucking stupid. But I asked him about it recently, like a couple of months ago, and I was like, do you remember that? And he's like, I don't know. A lot of people say that to me. I was laughing. But yeah, I mean, they were my big influences. I also like Crookers a lot. And one of the funny things is I found out that Bot, he's Andre, he's like one of my favorite like people on the planet. He was part of Crookers. and they made some crazy like bass line kind of stuff. And obviously Chris Lorenzo too, but at the time it was Cause and Effect. And then I remember the whole situation where Chris was like essentially tired of like writing all this music and you know, everyone taking credit for it. Like he goes for like Ill Phil, Donkey Punch, Hannah Wants. There's some others too, but yeah, that's when he like rose, and he was always like one of my favorites. Like I loved every single Cause and Effect song, but you know, most of that was Lorenzo, and he's just amazing. I like played 2 shows in a row with him one time, so we were traveling together, and I was like, "Do you have any serum patches you would have given me?" And he's like, "No, love, sorry." And I was like, "Damn it! I thought I'd try." But that guy's a G at what he does. So, I mean, he's always been a huge inspiration for me, too. Always been a huge Deadmau5 fan, also. And thank you. I love Clank. We're actually working on a new track here pretty soon. And same with me in Nostalgics, and same with me in Wednesday. So, we got some... I can't necessarily show you guys those tracks that I'm working on right now because... I mean, they're collabs, and I don't want to, you know, it's kind of unfair to do, I suppose. But, how many years of producing it start getting notice of your tunes play out? It honestly took me a long time to feel confident enough to play out my own music. I think, you know, I signed to a lot of UK labels because I was very garagey at one point, and then I went very techie. And then I got a track signed to Nightbase, and that was when I felt very comfortable to play out my own music. Probably took me about 4 or 5 years to get, you know, I mean, I had notice and stuff like that, but like to really, you know, kind of hit the ground running, get managers, like, you know, all that stuff lined up, and went on my first tour like a year after I graduated from Icon, and that was just absolute blast. You did that to the owner of Tragic Hero Records. Hey, you know what? That's the best thing that you could do. Is don't, like, keep bothering labels. Like, if you're sending out music, keep bothering labels until they say no. Like, I found it so important to just, like, you know, be persistent and just get that answer. And, you know, rejection for me has been the biggest motivator. You know, at first it sounds like kind of a, you know, shitty thing, but it inspires you to be better. And, it, you know, you want, like, if you really want it, you're going to push harder to, you know, explore your sound more. And also, another word of advice that I'd have is, like, don't get too hung up on one label. I remember at one point, while I was still at Icon, I was really... trying to get on Nightbase, and I was basically like making music that would have been on Nightbase, you know, like it sounded very forced. And the second I kind of let go of that, and I was like, I'm just gonna find my sound, I'm gonna make, you know, whatever I want to make, which is typically always like very Nightbase soundy, but like if you get too hung up on something and trying to force yourself, then you don't leave room for your own creativity, which I think is super important. And also people can tell. Like, I had like a lot of my like homies at iCloud be like, "Yeah, this just doesn't sound like you. It sounds forced, you know, it sounds like some forced like garage that you are trying to make." And you know, that really like made a huge impact on my life. Anyways, back into the production stuff. But yeah, I mean, like, I use so many fillers and stuff in here that I turn way down that you like can barely hear, because I like to fill in that space and just kind of have them sneaking around in the background, you know? But yeah, going back to that like group section, I mean, like if I were to do like resample this whole, you know, bass pattern one by one, I would feel like I would miss some of those little things that I did in there, you know? Like, Like those little glitches that I have in there, you know, like they're just like random, but they add so much. It almost sounds like the tail. And that's super fun. I like doing that. But here we go. Another thing that I want to stress is like the importance of giving, you know, like space and like room and cutting things out. Like I'll take a kick out here every so often. Once you listen to your track enough, you're like, oh, you should, like, I should accentuate this one part, you know? So, like, so I didn't put a kick here, because I have this little, I kind of give, like, every little aspect of my song, like, a little bit of room to breathe at one point, so you can kind of hear, you know, that it's happening. Yeah, and see, like, another cool thing that you could do if you're sampling, this is what I did here. So this is my pluck, and I just created another channel. Hit record. So you can take this, and so, like, you have this already. And if you see over here underneath warp, there's these little, it's like a colon 2 and an asterisk 2. You could stretch it out. And so it sounds like this. And that can be something that could be like really cool for like the build up or something even. Like here, let me record this again and try and see what it sounds like in the build up if I stretch it out. And no, I'm not doing a collab with Blossom. We don't really have as similar of styles of ways of doing house music. We've tried before, but me and Nostalgics, I think, are gonna blow it out of the water with our collab, which I'm pretty stoked about because we've kind of got this, you know, similar idea. But like, yeah, see, if I put this like in the build, so this is the resample that I have, and I'll just, you know, hit Command E because that's the drop part, and I don't want that playing through the drop. I just want to hear what that sounds like. See, it sounds kind of cool. And even if I didn't even have that vocal on here, so if I turned the vocals off here, it could even work as like, you know, a build-up. So that's another thing. Like, I always use everything that I have in my project. I try to not add too much stuff to it and just like work with what I have. See, like, you could use this resample that I just did of the pluck, and like, you know, I can add a delay to it. So here, add a washout. And then maybe like, since this part's a little bit bare, take the dry and wet and just kind of like make this a little bit more and turn up the feedback also. So it kind of like goes a little crazy. Let's hear that sound. You know, I didn't do that because I like the vocals in it, but like, this is just an example of something that you can do. Also, another thing that you could even do with it is, this is like my go-to like build-up is like delay, bass washout, and frequency shifter if I'm using like a bass that I stole from inside a drop. So you could take the frequency shifter and hit the fine button, so that parameter pops up, and you can create like a ramp and just put it up all the way, and then take that, close that little dot, so if you listen, it rises in pitch. Yeah, I just took out all my vocals, so I'm gonna put that back in because the vocals are sweet. I was very proud of this one. I just like, this is one of those tracks where you know, I just got really into the momentum, and it just like kind of all fell into place for me and just made sense, you know. I'm gonna delete that, but that was just an example. But yeah, like one of the hugest parts of like having all this and starting out with a drop for me is that I can just take like little parts of it and, you know, like tease things in the drop, like or in the verse, like how I did kind of like here. And like it wouldn't even have hurt to have put like, you know, this in here, like into the verse. You know? Yeah, just kind of like teasing it. And so it's cool stuff like that you can do just to kind of, you know, because like the listener, when they're listening to your track, they're going to pay attention in the first like 30 seconds. So that's when you're going to kind of want to catch their ears. Lately, I've been trying to focus on making kind of more bare intros. I know that like Jack Beats and like Taiki are really good with doing that. They kind of make these really bare intros, but somehow manage to find a way to like make them really interesting because you know them as artists and you know that they're about to drop something super sick. So that's cool, and that's kind of where I want to get at. But I'm gonna start working a little bit more with melody and vocals and stuff like that. So we go through this a little bit more and see what I did with the vocals here. And like at the beginning of like, so this is where I started that like pluck portion right here, or these two sections right here. And so like the first, you know, like 4 bars, I'll kind of like introduce it in kind of a weird way and like take everything out. See how this is my percussion, and I took all that out. And so, gang. And then I just put like that one little bass just to kind of bring it in, you know, this. And then it goes in. And then you can do like a drum fill or something like that too. And that always like kind of creates excitement and shows that you're going into a different, you know, like you're kind of switching things up a little bit. And then I'm going to go through the outro a little bit and how I do my outros. So, I mean, obviously, like I said before, I created a lot of, like, you know, hype during that, like, bridge where I have the drum and bass because that's in the middle. And then, you know, this part is kind of strictly for, like, you know, kind of fading out a little bit. So, as this goes on a little bit, so I got a riser coming up. And then I took out the kicks with the auto filter right here, so you could hear like, you know, it goes. This is what I did when I went from the verse into the build up. And it cuts for the last 4. And then, you know, in the outro it's just kind of like. And then that makes it really easy for DJs to go into. Go through some questions for a second. Yes, of course, I love Lowdown. Lowdown's super dope. Yeah, with frequency shift, I am actually not sure. So if you want to know if you're going up by octaves, what you can do, I would not recommend doing this in MIDI because Ableton still has this fault where like once you do any sort, like if you go to clip and go to MIDI control and this pitch bend thing. So if you pitch bend in the MIDI, then it pitch bends the rest of the MIDI throughout the whole thing, and it's a bug that Ableton for some reason still hasn't fixed. So I make sure that I do that in audio. So say for instance, if I were to go, let's see where I have something in audio. So if I were to take this, obviously this is a terrible example, but I mean it's gonna show you guys what I'm talking about. So when you have this clip open right here and it says envelopes over here, I'll go to clip and then it says transposition. So you can see right here, it says plus 12. That's 12 semitones, which is an octave. So like if you want to control and know how many octaves is going up with frequency shifter, you're kind of just making it go higher by frequency. It's not really telling you what semitones. But if you want to be really like concise about it, just bounce it into audio, and then you could go here. So like I'm ramping it up an octave right here when it says 12 semitones up here. So it's starting at its regular pitch.
Today's youth spends all night ingesting substances in a dark room, listening to techno music, expecting to return Sunday morning to repent for their sins, and get wasted again.
But yeah, you can do the same thing and just pull it down to 12 octaves down here. But that gives you more control when you want to be in key too.
Today's youth spends all night ingesting substances.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
In the dark room, listening to techno music, expecting to return Sunday morning to repent for their sins, and get wasted again.
So my process for coming up with vocals, this one kind of just rolled off the tongue after, like, you know, this one I copied from, like, you know, this is from the Suicide Boys song Carrollton. It's at the end. So, I mean, I copied that, so I did it in my own vocals, because I wanted to sample it and, like, have free range of doing it with my own vocals.
Up in time to go to mass on Sunday morning, and you tell God you're sorry for your drunkenness, only to go back out tonight and get wasted again.
And then, you know, like, for the second drop, I thought, like, you know, what would be something kind of similar that I could say that would be funny, you know, to kind of, like, mix well into the next drop. And this is what I came up with. Sometimes a couple drinks helps. I'm not promoting alcohol. I don't drink that much, but I think I did when I when I recorded this. But
Today's youth spends all night ingesting substances in a dark room, listening to techno music, expecting to return Sunday morning to repent for their sins, then get wasted again.
so I kind of just, like, used the same concept, but, like, you know, kind of put a flip on it in my own way. But another way that I come up with lyrics is I keep, like, a lyric notepad on my phone. And I just, like, think of, like, random, like, funny things that you could say to, like, I really like conceptual music. So, like, what's a good example? Like the Stop Calling Me song. I don't know. I think, oh yeah, okay. I know why I made that song called Stop Calling Me. So I was trying to work on that track, and my mom kept FaceTiming me while I was working on the track, and I was just super into it. And she kept FaceTiming me, and I kept on denying her calls, but she kept on doing it anyways. And I didn't use my own vocals back then. I used this thing. It was called Online Voice Generator. And you can get something. I would look into it. It's a little hard to find the actual download for it. But you can YouTube search it. I don't have it anymore because I decided to use my own vocals from now on. Because I learned how to process them so well to make them sound how I want them to sound. But you can literally type into... Yeah, it's called Online Voice Generator, and you can choose different voices that you want it to say. And then when you download Soundflower, it's basically when you open up your preferences and you go to input and output, you can select Soundflower for it, and then you go to your system preferences on your computer and you hit it shows it available as an output to make it Soundflower. And then you hit record on an audio channel, make sure it says, like, extension in. and you can record that, which is really cool. Unfortunately, I don't have it anymore because what I said about my computer wiping, and I kind of just like learned to just do my own vocals at this point. But that was super fun because you could choose different ways that it's said, like you could choose different voices and stuff like that. But I just think of like really random funny things that I like can put in my tracks, and then I write them down in a notepad on my phone. And did you have to clear the vocal because of the lyrics are from Suicide Boys or not? No, not at all. Well, first of all, they sampled that from something else. And then also, I did the lyrics on my own. So say, for instance, if I wanted to take a Beyonce song and recite, like, some of her lyrics into my song, but I'm saying them myself, then there's no way that I could be, like, you cannot get it copyright. Like, it's not gonna get taken down or anything, because it's your own voice. You can't really copyright, like, words. You can, like, say, for instance, if you listen to I Don't Care by, what's his name? Oh, Corrupt. He's another really good UK producer. He's on Nightbase. It's actually a Russ song with, like, it's a girl singing Russ lyrics throughout the whole song. And you can completely do that. You can take other people's lyrics, but say or sing them yourself, and there's no possible way that you can get that copywritten. I don't know if that's the proper way to say it, but yeah, I don't have to clear anything with that. If you're doing it yourself and it's your own vocals, then that's completely fine, you know? Like, as you've heard, like, people have taken, like, little, like, jabs from, like, really famous songs and stuff, and it depends on how much you take from it. If you're taking, like, one, like, melody stab throughout it that is, like, very clearly from, like, an old classic song, it's not a big deal. But if you're, like, taking, like, the whole song and it basically sounds like a bootleg, then you can't release that as an original, if that makes any sense. But yeah, you got to be careful with that. But for the most part, if you're doing vocals and you're doing them yourself, and you know, just like you could take somebody else's lyrics, like for me in Wednesday's new song, I did vocals in it, and I just said, to the window, to the wall, all these bitches crawl. And, like, we all know what song that's from, and you know, like that's gonna get cleared by a label. Already has been, but you guys will hear later. Okay. Going to see if there's any more questions about the song. DistroKid does cover license for $12 a year. I don't know. I don't really care to do that, to be honest. Yes, I do plan on having a label. So I started my clothing line. It's called Dollhouse. And, I plan on having Dollhouse Records, but I want to, you know, kind of fully launch my, my project first and make sure that I have the time and, like, the music all set out and just kind of, like, my sound really established. So, you know, it would make sense as a label, because I've seen a lot of artists making labels and, like, not really following through with them. So, I mean, that I definitely do plan on having a label, but I'm waiting for a later date before I do that. Definitely. But, yeah. Let me go through. Is there any more questions about how I did this track? Oh yeah, I also wanted to show, so this right here is my sub line right here, my hip hop sub bass, and up here is my kick, and so I'll show you that I will take this and, like, copy it down here, and then whatever bass I have playing here, so say for instance, it would be this one, which is A flat. So I put A flat right here. So I basically am matching all these bass notes to the basses that I have playing up here. And this entire, I'm just going to label this so this doesn't confuse anyone, but bass group. I'll call it synth group. Synth bass, yes, perfect. But yeah, I just like match like every single like bass note that I have playing down here, and then I'm gonna show you what the kick and the sub sound together. Oh, and to solo two things together, you click the S right here for solo, and then if you hit Command and then click solo then on another track, then it will solo just those two together so you can hear them together to make sure that they sound proper. So you can kind of hear that pumping. What that is doing is that compressor is making space for the kick so that there's no interrupting frequencies or anything. You can also make some pretty good like nice sublines inside of Serum too. And also within Serum, if you don't want to use like a hip-hop sub bass, you can put like this is an easy way to go to. You can add the sub and go like direct out, and you know you can adjust the level and stuff of it here or right here, which is good. But to be safe, I normally just like to cut out all the low frequencies on the synth basses that I'm using, so that you know it doesn't. It's just a safe way for me to do that, but sometimes I won't. But it's just like my like simple way to keep things as clear as humanly possible, and that's what I like about it. But one thing that I would recommend is getting Splice and downloading just a bunch of packs, even if they're not like from the genre that you like. Like say for instance, I have a bunch of really cool packs where like I have a Machine. I don't know if you guys have ever listened to Machine Drum, but he's a crazy like kind of footwork like juke kind of artist, and he's got some of the like and also these Sophie samples. You guys have probably heard a lot of this stuff, but she's got some crazy stuff in here like. You know, you can just like hear all that. It's super fun to have like just as much ammo as you can sample wise. I make all my own basses in Serum. I'll go through really quick and show you some of the ones that I have. And the track that I'm about to deconstruct a little bit, you guys are about to see quite a few. But oops, let me go back. So I'll take a lot of like ones that I already have or that I've been given, and I'll go through and I'll deconstruct them and kind of make them my own. But like I have, let's go through and listen to some of these. So this is some of the basses that I've made. And they're a lot more simpler than you would expect. Like this is just down 2 octaves. I have just a reverb effect on it. But without it, like listen to that. Isn't that weird? But yeah, that's like one of them that I have. They all sound really cool. I need to start working with these a little bit more. But yeah, I'll go through and just like do like very simple like different changes on them. Like weight position and like the LFO and also the cutoff. I don't have, these are very simple ones that I have. And yeah, this is something that I wanted to show you guys. That's like a pretty simple bass that you can make it when you're trying to make kind of like a wub. I'm gonna turn the master up a little bit unless you can hear it. But yeah, I'll start with like just a simple sine wave and put it down 2 octaves, and then I'll take another one and put it up an octave. And then down here you go FM from B. So FM is what makes that like that garagey sound, that wow, because it's basically like it's frequency like modulating from like the other sine wave. And then you could do like cool stuff, like just turn it up like 4 semitones. And the cool thing about that is you can go through and you can like change this as time goes on. And like, I promise you, just like the simplest little changes and like the synths that you're using will make such a huge difference too. But I'm gonna go through. I think this was just a pluck that I did. I just put a super short cutoff on it here. Yeah, it's coming up that acid sound, and you can turn up like the resolution. Kind of sounds like a laser. But yeah, this is all stuff that I've just like deconstructed and just like kind of messed around with. But let's see, any other cool. Oh wait. Yeah, this one was super fun to mess around with. There's a lot that I added to this one. There's a lot of effects. There's phaser, hyperdimension, compressor, filter. Synthesis is kind of a whole different game, which is like something that took me a long time to figure out, which actually helped me like discover my sound a lot, which I really enjoyed. But I would take like, I had, one of my friends gave me just like a crap load of patches, and I went through and I just saw how each one was made, and I kind of took that and like went through and like figured everything else out from there. And would just like kind of just like rip apart each patch and kind of see what each of these parameters are doing. There's a lot of people that use Massive. You could even use Operator on Ableton. Actually, something that I want to show you guys really quick that's super fun that you could do. I'm going to show you a couple really simple operator tricks. For people that, like, I know it's pretty hard to get into Serum after a little bit, but so this will be like one envelope right here, what you're seeing. So this is the first envelope, and like say for instance I'll like drop it down like this, and kind of like this will be like the shape of the wave, and then I can go here onto the second envelope. If you hit Control, or wait, no, it's Option. Command Option. Crap, I haven't used this in a while. Okay, sorry. You hit Control onto the waveform itself, and you can go copy from oscillator A. And oscillators are your wavetables, essentially. So, here, I will play what this sounds like. So right now, it just sounds like a simple sine wave right now. And then if you turn it up to like course, you do like course 2, or nope. Sometimes you could just type it in too. That's just nice. And then and then maybe add like a saturator. And you got that like sick like bass line kind of sound. And then over here where it says spread, that's kind of like putting a chorus on it, so you can go like this too. So that's like a fun little operator trick. One thing that I did and stopped calling me a lot, so I'll start over from scratch, is literally just leave it like this, and then you can take LFO, turn that on, and then where it says L right here, you can click sync, and so it gives you a rate. And here, I'll turn it up. Put a saturator on that too, just to make it sound a little bit higher. But yeah, you can do like really fun stuff like that, just like as little fillers, And I'm sure you've heard that, like, in my, a lot of in my psycho disco EPs, I did that a lot. Let me go through some more comments real quick. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't have a master chain. I literally mix things as I go, and they sound mastered. I don't really have a good, like, I don't know. When I do master my own tracks, I master them in Ozone, which is a completely different thing than, it's an isotope plugin, but I use Ozone 3, I think is what it's called. I haven't mastered my own tracks in a while because I normally send them off to labels and they like to have their own mastering engineers do that, but I mix everything as I go, and most of my stuff, like, a lot of the tracks that I've released recently haven't even needed a master on them because I just, like, mix as I go, and it's kind of, like, gotten to the point where, like, riding a bike where I don't really think about it. Just as I'm going, I want things to sound right. Like, I don't like to have to go through and, like, mix down my tracks, really. So I do it as I go. Because, like, it's, like, almost, like, instant gratification. You know, like, when you're working on a track and, like, it sounds all muddy and, like, shitty. Like, it's not... It doesn't make you excited to make a track, in my opinion. So I normally just mix as I go, to be honest. But, yeah, so no master chain for me. I don't know a whole lot of producers that use master chain, like any master chains or anything, but yeah, I normally just like do that on individual tracks, which may sound more complicated, but for some reason for me it's not. Okay, just give me 1 second. And yeah, when I'm sending... chill, calm down, Cherry. Cherry, we will go to the next track. I'm supposed to go through this one first for a little bit. Thank you. But the 32-bit render, yeah, I sent a 32-bit render, and I normally put it at -6 decibels. So if you go over the master down here, when you send off for pre-masters, I put it down at -6 or like -12. I normally go by 3s. But yeah, since it is 6:30, I will go into the next track. So this, I mean, I obviously called it Disaster because it is a disaster at the moment. And so I kind of wanted to go through my process of, like, how I would, you know, go through the song. And, I mean, there's so many elements in this track that it's, like, very confusing to me. But, I mean, I've hit this like roadblock before, and a lot of producers do, and I kind of wanted to show how, like, you know, I work backwards with it. So I mean, I'll go over, like, this is like one version that I had right here, and then I'll go over to like this one right here and like create like a whole new version, because I'm like, oh, this one's crap, but I might want to use some of the stuff later. So I mean, this is what I have for now. So, like, there's a lot of really cool things to work with here, but I feel like there's so much going on, you don't know what to focus on. And that's something that's super important. And I told you that I have been getting very excited about, like, you know, doing different stuff with the sound design. So I went a little too crazy with that. Let's see what these are here. So this is like one of the sounds that I worked on. But yeah, the sound design is good, but like, you know, sometimes you get a little bit lost with like, you know, what you're supposed to be, you know, like to make that motif, like to like make sure. Hold on, sorry. Let's look at something. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of go through and like try and rebuild this track a little bit. So I'm gonna kind of work backwards a little bit. So I've got my build up here. This is like all I've started with pretty much. Oh, really quick, I'm gonna show you. So we're gonna ignore, or you could take a listen to what I had before that I decided not to use. I think I probably just felt like this one went on for a little bit too long, this build up. That makes sense why I started a new version. But yeah, I got really stoked with like all the new sounds that I made, so I just tried to incorporate all of them into it. But you know what you want to do is kind of like keep a similar vibe throughout the tracks. So some things that I've recently wanted to focus a little bit more on is like working with my sub a little bit and kind of like, you know, like here, I'm gonna try using 808s instead. So I'll show you how I have this pack. It's called 808 Warfare. And I kind of wanted to, you know, like accentuate like the parts that I found like the most important in it. Instead of having just like a bunch of stuff firing off at one time. That sounds pretty cool. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll put this in, and I don't know what note this is playing at, so what I use is Spectrum. And you put that on there, solo it. Double click this so I can really see it. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, so the lowest, when you're tuning a sub, or an 808, the lowest highest point is going to be what it's playing at. So it's going to be about right here. So it looks like this is E. So I'm going to label this as E, like that. See what this is playing at. So this is playing at E already, so that's good. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to create like a different bass pattern. And something that I've been really liking lately is kind of having the 808 kind of come off of the kick a little bit, like the sub coming off the kick. So it kind of gives it like this, it's almost like a second kick is kind of what it sounds like, but it's more subtle. So I'm just going to solo the kick and the 808 for now to kind of show how I'm going to like make kind of a new. Okay, cool. Let's see this next note that's playing. So I didn't really go too crazy with my notes here. It looks like I just used E and F. But that's like something that you can work with, that if you have the proper bass pattern. So I'll like duplicate that and maybe go here. And then go by like thirds too. I don't know, let's hear the sounds. And then I'll label this as F. And then, yeah, so I just go up a semitone. So if I'm working with 808s, you can go to transpose over here, just go up a semitone, hit enter. See, like that already sounds like really cool. And, you know, I've been listening to a lot of, like, I kind of took a break from house music over this quarantine because, you know, last year was wild. Like, I was traveling all the time. I almost felt like I couldn't catch my breath. And then I got to a point where, I mean, I had so much time that I was like, I don't even know what to do at this time. I don't even want to listen to house music. Not that I still love house music more than anything in my life. But, you know, sometimes you just need a little bit of a break. But, you know, I've been listening a lot lately and just kind of trying to get myself back into it. And I have been really interested in, like, you know, focusing more on bass patterns. Because, like, listen to how, like, dope this already kind of sounds. And then you can repeat that, you know, maybe for another 4 bars. And then do some sort of switch up, like, let's see what we can do here. Well, maybe do, like... Bear with me here while I work, I'm sorry. Just do like a little bit of a variation here. Maybe take this, put this here. We'll see how this sounds. Yeah, so this would be like my kick and my bass right here with my 808s. When I'm building my motif, like, I always start, so, yeah, this is one thing that I wanted to show you guys. So, the thing that I start off with, quick little note, greatest thing that I learned ever, to create space, you just highlight any region whatsoever, Command I, boom, you got room. That rhymed. So, I'll take my kicks and put this, and this would be considered, so I would label this as, you know, arrangement-wise, I would label this as the build, and then I will rename that and say that it is the verse. So, put my kicks here. Duplicate that, sort of. And then, like I said, I normally put my bass or my sub. In this case, it's gonna be my 808 pattern. I normally put that in the verse just to tease it, you know. So this will be the start of my verse, and then I'm gonna go through and see what percussion I have here. I'm guessing this is my percussion down here. Interesting. Okay. It's a very messy. Hold on, what was this? So I'll take all my percussion from here, and I'll go into the verse, make sure that you ought to be on the right. Sorry, I'm gonna delete all this to avoid confusion. There we go. Okay. So I'll start off with just a little bit of this. And do that. So there we go, we have my percussion for the verse. But then I'm going to show you how I would kind of move into the build up here. So, oh, that's not a percussion thing. Let's go right here. So it's best to have as many effects as you possibly can. Let's see. Yeah. So I'll use like and then as it builds up. And then like I said, you can just duplicate it and reverse it. And then I'll just take out like the last 4 bars here. And then maybe tease the vocal in just a little bit. So I would probably move this into another section. Let's see how that sounds. Oh, cool. Okay, that sounds pretty sweet. So I'm going to use that Niles just to spread it out a little bit. Maybe I'll put it down. Warping vocals can be a huge pain in the ass sometimes. And then for like this last part right here, maybe I'll just like stretch it out super hardcore, like this. And then start like using a washout or something like that, just to kind of like, oops, I put 2 on. When I'm stuck on tracks, normally, I'm good on auto filtering the vocal of the verse. I'm just showing you how I'm building my track. I'll do this later. I'm just showing you my arrangement. Anyways, when I'm stuck on tracks, I normally don't like, I don't know, it depends on if I feel like the track has potential. If I don't feel like it has potential, then I like don't really want to continue to work on it. But if I feel like it has something that I can really work with, then sometimes I force myself to. And there's a lot of tracks that I've released, like even Repetition. Like that song sounded like trash at one point, and I just decided to keep working on it because I just had a feeling about it. And so that's when I will work on tracks. But then there's like some that, you know, they just don't excite you that much. Like I feel like this has a lot to work with, and that's why I, you know, wanted to open this one up and kind of like show you guys what I would do to like, you know, try and simplify it a little bit. And I'm not going to autofill this. I'm just going to put a manipulator on it and do something weird with it. And put a midnight EQ. This is a really cool EQ. It's an EQ3 preset, and it kind of makes it sound like a radio. And then another thing that might be kind of cool, since I'm not trying to have like the full vocal coming through, I'm going to put a compressor on it, sidechain, and then I got to figure out where the hell my kick is, and start labeling my things. Oh, I did label it. Good, go me. Okay. Let's see. So I'll take kick, and like some like it's really fun to. I enjoy sidechaining my kick to a lot of things because I like that pumping sound a little bit. Another cool thing that you can do is like, say for instance, I just sidechain compression my kick, which I sidechain compress most of my things for my kick. So I just put in this white noise. And so this is what happens when I put that that compressor, I just copy and pasted it onto this channel. So it pumps. So like, listen. You kind of hear how like it's making room for that kick, you know? So that's the fun part about it. Yeah, so like it kind of gave it this like glitchier kind of like background sound. But still, I'm listening to this and there is way far too much going on. So I'm gonna pull this sub for now and keep up with this little 808 arrangement that I made. It's really simple. Like, I mean, if you see, like, it's just like E, F, E, E, F, E, and then like E, E, F, E, like just kind of like, if you have a very basic like bass line, you can like add more like melodic elements over it, which I think is fun. So this might sound like complete trash when I'm about to play this, but bear with me. Okay, so now would be time to start taking some stuff out because I really like the bass that I just set up. Yeah, I think I'm gonna take this out entirely. So let's hear. Okay, so that's looped. So that sounds pretty cool already. So this is like just showing you that like sometimes simplicity is key. And once you've got like a really kick-ass like, you know, 808 pattern or a bass pattern, you can like really leave things a lot more bare than you would think. So I'm gonna go through this. And so it could even use with like a little bit less. So this is something that I believe I took this and I think this, I resampled this and put manipulator on it, I'm guessing, or something. Or I stretched it out. But I used a lot of different sounds for this. So I'm going to take this out as well, so it's not like that. Duplicate, and then maybe create like some sort of like pluck or something that I had. Yeah, I do produce with the call and response technique in mind. In this track, clearly not. I just got really overexcited. I'm kind of trying to show you like my process of trying to remove like all these things happening, because you do want that call sound. Like you want like a badass bass and then something to respond to it. I think I have I've been really enjoying using this pluck lately that I'm gonna try out really quick. Or maybe it is an operator. No, it's in serum. Okay. Let's see. Kendoll pluck. I wonder what that sounds like. Okay, so this is basically what I did for Wasted Again, but I'm gonna do like a little different. That sounds pretty cool. See, like, you guys should definitely check out this plugin. So let's see what. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and try and create like a little bit of a melody here. Here's another thing. Sometimes when you see this, I normally go and hit Control, click that, go to 16 bars, so it makes a little bit more sense. So I'm gonna go like. That sounds kind of cool. Okay, let's see if this sounds. And then we'll go like. So this is how I would like work through like a call and response sort of deal. That's not exactly the melody that I'm probably going to use, but it's something to start with, I guess. Let's kind of see how that sounds. And here's where I would use that Niles, or turn it up a little bit. And then right here is where I would change it. Maybe like up an octave. Yeah, that's pretty dope. Go through and duplicate this. This is just kind of how I get through Roblox. It's just like deleting things, starting with a new baseline. So I'm gonna go ahead and just delete this sub just because it was really basic and it was just causing me to just be able to throw a bunch of crap over it. But like already that sounds a lot doper just because I deleted a bunch of crap, you know? It's like you have so many, like, I'm at this position where I have so many cool noises that I just like want to keep going, like just use all of them. But in the long run, it just doesn't make sense. And you know, you could just make more tracks with the other stuff that you make. So I'm going to try and use that technique basically where I took the basses and resampled them and used them kind of as a build-up. Alright, so we'd probably just need this section right here. Command E, drop that bad boy into the build. I'm gonna try doubling it, and what I would do normally when I like kind of tease the bass in the build, I would take an auto filter. And I'll remove the bass of it. Put a washout, maybe. And then we'll see how that sounds with the rest of everything else. Frequency shifter. Already sounds so much doper. And so that gives me so much more room to like kind of figure out what the like motif is. Like I really like that sound, that pluck sound that I put in there. And so what I am going to do is like perfect the melody of that and go through and like, you know, create different versions of it. Something else that's really cool that you could do. So like if I were to take, you could take a whole section, like say for instance right here, and if you hit Command Shift D, it duplicates the whole region. And then I could just do like a whole, hold on 1 second. Whoa, okay, hold on. I'm gonna do this, C. This is just how I label like different portions of my drops, but you go through and you could take it and go like, let's see, invert. Yeah, you can hit Command A and then you just invert, you click the invert button, or you can hit reverse. I don't know how that's gonna sound. We'll see how that sounds. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, all I did here was, hold on, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna uninvert it, reverse it, flip down and reverse it. Let's see. So like that just completely changes the pattern. All you have to do is hit Command A and then hit, you know, reverse, and it just does like a completely different thing, you know? And you can even change the tone of it. Like if I were to go, you can hit Command J, consolidate the whole thing, Command A, group everything, and if you hit Shift and down, you can go down an octave. So like, I think I like it with this on here. But yeah, you could just like create like a whole new section here. And I'm gonna like, I'm sure you guys will be hearing this song released because I like actually like it now, which is crazy because I didn't like it before. You know, I'd go through and just kind of like get an idea. Like, I don't know, when I make songs, I kind of get this feeling about the song, and I'm like, oh, this sounds like, I don't know, I'll just like think of like lyrics based on what this song, like this, like the feeling that the song kind of gives me. Oh, I hope Crookers would be proud of these stabs. I really, I worked hard on that stab. How do you know when you're done? Because we're stuck in the 8-bar loop syndrome and end up with a graveyard of unfinished tunes. You know, I really don't ever get in that situation. I'm not gonna lie. My situations typically end up where I just put too much in, and then I need to go through and simplify. I guess there has been a couple times where I've been on the airplane and I'm like, I'm just gonna like try and write a new tune, and it just like sounds like crap. But like, I see that as practice. Like, you continue and like you, as many songs as you make, and then one will stick with you and you'll start to get into a flow. Because I feel like honestly making music is like just like getting into the flow of it and like really like having a vision. Like once something works out, like me and PD Clicks would always call them happy accidents, you know? It's like you just kind of mess around with something. So like basically all you guys have been doing is watching me just like mess around with this and like come up with like things that just randomly work. And like when that happens, then like everything kind of falls into place. I guess I wouldn't say that I don't get in that situation, because I make plenty of 8-bar loops, but I don't ever make them with the intention of like, you know, like finishing them sometimes. I use it more as like a practice technique. You process and lay those out. Yeah, my hats and my cymbals. For some reason I didn't use a MIDI with this, but I just have like a Kendoll drum rack that I use. So, the cool thing is you can save drum racks with all the samples that you like in them. It's actually pretty simple what I do with my drum racks, to be honest. Like, I'll go like, start with the 4 bars, make sure, hit control, then I'm at 1/16. So this is how I would typically... I guess this is, I have a washout on the master right now, so that's why this is kind of a bad place to start. I'll move over here.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
So I'll do something like that, and then I like doing them in MIDI. I know you can use, I know you can add groove to audio samples, but I don't know. I just was taught to use MIDI. I think both are perfectly fine, but I'll go through and I'll typically put like a swing on it. So I'll do like MPC 16 swing. The higher the number, like the more the swing that you're gonna get. So I'll do like, I don't know, I normally do like 60. So I'll add that to it. And then I'm gonna solo my kick really quick. Okay, so I'll like this. And then I like to do the little like last 16th note clap right here. That's fun. And then like I'll have little percussions. So that's why I like to go by 16th note, because I'm on 16th note swing with my groove. So I'll do like, you know, like that snare sounds like shit. Okay. Yeah, so like this would be like a simple like way that I would set things up. I've been like just messing around with top loops lately, just tossing them on top as well. I think when I started this track, I was like doing it like I said for practice, and I just threw my claps into audio. I never do that. I always use this drum rack, but and then this is a time where I would use my parallel compression to kind of make them pop a little bit more, you know? Is there anything you would have learned from working on D&B that's influenced your house music production lately? I actually have a side project. It's called KC in lower caps. I just like literally mess around with it for fun, but I produce a lot of liquid drum and bass. I've been a drum and bass fan for a very, very, very long time. I have enjoyed incorporating kind of like that neuro like kind of sound into some of my tracks, as you can hear. Like, let's see, where was that little weird thing? Like this thing. Alright, that's not a good example. But like stuff like that, like I've been kind of doing that like long drawn out, like just kind of like gnarly like basses. But that's influenced, I guess, it a little bit more than usual. And but not really. I mean, I've always like I listen to drum and bass like all the time. It's like one of my absolute favorite genres on the planet. So, I mean, yeah, it hasn't influenced it that much, but I don't add the same MPC swings to everything. I normally just do it on my percussion. There's the occasional times that I will do it on my like synth basses, but it normally depends on how it sounds. The one thing that I do not do is put it on my kick, because I've had a lot of UK artists like to swing their kicks, and like I'll go to play them out, and they're so swung that they don't match the kicks that like I'm trying to mix into. So it sounds like a 100 millisecond like off of the kick. So that's why I don't swing kicks. But I normally just do it on my percussion inside the MIDI. And then yeah, when I have a top loop, I will do the same thing to it too. So like I don't know what's going on here, man. I really did not plan on trying to do anything cool with this track apparently. But yeah, you can go in here and it says MPC 16 because it recognizes that from you doing it earlier. So that's a cool part of that. But yeah, this is kind of like what my cymbal placement looks like. Like this is just within like the small amount. You know, your classic hats. I don't really go too crazy with the hats, to be honest. But I'll add like little fills, like, you know. Oh, why isn't it playing? Okay. Oh, because it's not solid. Okay. Like that. And then I'll just do like the, you know, that kind of stuff. Which I will incorporate throughout the whole song right now so you can see how that sounds. And then this is just like a bit much, so I'm just gonna turn down the velocity of that. And duplicate it. I think it does this. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so he sounds super dope. And like I showed you in the last one, you could do some cool stuff like this. Go through with the frequency shifter. And like, this is like the super hardcore part where, like, I don't like that, it's a bit too much. Let's see. I don't know, maybe just do like a little ramp downwards. Sometimes I don't want to go too crazy with it because it sounds pretty cool how it is, but no, I like using the chorus. The chorus is like the fine in chorus is like, it's pretty much how it sounds. Like the chorus is like, when I click on the chorus, like it drastically changes the pitch of it. But the fine is just like kind of like fine tuning it a little bit. You know, like doing some stuff like that. Alright, listen. So I'm gonna try something with the echo. And like, I'm gonna turn the dry wet down, but like turn this up a little bit right here. And then do something with the milliseconds here. Or I guess I could just keep the dry wet up the whole time. Doesn't really matter. Because then I can just change the milliseconds. Do some like... make it go down super quick. Yeah, so it like makes these like weird little cool sounds when you mess with the milliseconds on the echo, but like cool. So like that was a disaster that I turned into a possibly releasable song that I will maybe continue to work on. It maybe will be a new release on a very big label for an EP that I'm working on here pretty soon. So I'm gonna take this time just to like get a couple more questions if anyone has any more questions. Fire away and I will answer them for you. Let's see. I think you were able to take a song you weren't happy with just now and turn it into something you are stoked because you weren't so focused on getting it done, or I chose this song specifically because it had a lot to work with. The songs that I just like end up don't working on are the ones that like just sound so like dead in the water. Like I don't know, like I just maybe wasn't in the mood or something, and I didn't feel creative or anything when I was working on it, and like I just didn't like, I didn't think that it had any potential. When I'm making my music, like there's some songs that I would literally force myself to like work on because like, you know, I've done something interesting with it that's not quite there, but I mean with a little bit of work, you know, like you don't, I rely a lot on flow when I'm working on my music, but you know, there's sometimes where I just like get this feeling about a track that I should work on and you know, just mess around with a little bit and kind of simplify, and that's what I just did with this song. And I think that, you know, I could, you know, eventually come up with something pretty cool with this one. So that's something that I really, you know, focus on. But yeah, there's some tracks where I'm just like, this isn't even like what my sound is. I'm just kind of just messing around, which is good because it's practice. I mean, like, I think that you know, you should like try, if you're really trying to get to where you are right now and find your sound, just like work on like a track, like a 16 bar loop a day. And if something clicks, then it will. And then you just want to, you know, fire through that, you know? You get like, you make like a happy accident and like, you know, you just want to keep continuing with it. And that's happened to me with a lot of tracks. Like say for instance, Rabbit Hole, that song, it's like deeper down the rabbit hole. That was more down like towards my like techier days. But I made that song probably in about 3 hours. I was over at my friend's house. We were all working on music. It was my homie Sam, you probably know him as Sammy Legs. He's an amazing house producer. But I was over at his house with all of his guy friends and like T-Chilt, and he's the one that did the vocals on it. And I was working on it, and all of a sudden I was like, wait, like I have an idea. Like this song needs to be about like an acid trip or like Alice in Wonderland. And then he's like, oh, I've got vocals for it already. He's like, deeper down the rabbit hole. And then there's like one part that goes like, oh shit, too deep. And it's got that plucky sound. And like, it just like, I don't know, it just kind of made sense. And like songs sometimes just click like that. And then there's been songs like Never Sleep. on my Night Bass EP that like I thought that song was so cool and it had such a good idea, but I was stuck with it for a while. But I forced myself to work on it because it kind of had this like techno-y bass line kind of sound to it, and I was like really determined to finish it, and I'm so glad I did because it's like one of my favorite songs that I made. So I guess that's just kind of the difference between it. And thank you so much like for tuning in. Like I really appreciate it. Sometimes when I explain my process, it's a little confusing because I just like kind of just like throw stuff in and just kind of like go with my gut feeling. I mean, I've been trained obviously for a year, and you know I'm on Ableton 24/7. I know all the audio effects and how to use the synths and all that stuff like that within Ableton. But yeah, most of my process is just like, oh, that sounds really cool, I'm gonna try and make that work, and then like just like trial and error, just like keep trying until something sounds good and clicks, and then it makes sense. I'm actually kind of stoked about that pluck that I just made, but let's see here. Will you change the title of this track to Saved? Well, yeah, sure. Command Shift S. Saved! But yeah, I don't know where my cat is actually. She's been avoiding me all day. I was working out earlier and she kept crawling all over me, and I got really annoyed and didn't give her any attention, and she's a diva. So, damn, I don't know. I have 2 cats actually. One of them hides all the time, but the other one is a good, likes to hang around all the time. She likes to sit and watch me brush my teeth in the morning on the counter. She's pretty funny. But yeah, I'm stoked that the idea worked out pretty well too. I wasn't expecting that to go so well. I'm probably gonna continue to work on it throughout the night or something. But yeah, thank you guys so much. If you guys ever want to learn more from me, feel free to hit me up on Twitter or anything. My DMs are open. I love helping people one-on-one and getting them to where they want to be and getting them comfortable with Ableton. It's one of my passions, and everyone has that creative energy inside of them, and all you have to do is just like find the perfect spot as to where that you can place that creative energy, and that's really important, and that's a really exciting thing to find. So if I can ever do that to like help somebody out with that, I would love to. So yeah, feel free to hit me up whenever. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. This has been super fun. I think I went a little bit over my time, but yeah. All right, you guys have a good day.